North just can't wait to be king.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most notable relatives of prominent people who have yet to make their own independent mark.
But it's okay to acknowledge it.
Number 10, Brooklyn Beckham, David and Victoria Beckham. As the eldest son of power couple David and Victoria Beckham, Brooklyn was first poised to have a football career like his father by signing as a youth player with Arsenal.
I did football for like 15 years, since I was like 2, but I had a lot of pressure on me as well, because and every time I made a mistake, everyone was looking at me like, said, oh my god, like he made a mistake.
However, after that and modeling both didn't pan out, he turned to photography.
I prefer black and white portrait photography, but I don't really like taking pictures of pretty faces. I like old, interesting faces.
Brooklyn's name got him to jump ahead of seasoned professionals to work with Burberry, causing outrage from photographers. He then attempted to get a degree in the subject, but soon gave that up. Around this time, Brooklyn signed a publishing deal and released a book of his photographs, which, to mention the elephant in the room, wasn't well received.
What you have in this photo of Brooklyn's, that I'm just gonna highlight these empty spaces. They're not negative space, they're just empty spaces that serve no purpose.
Next on his agenda was cooking. Despite having no training, Brooklyn developed a show about his chefing exploits, which was also criticized.
That looks amazing.
You should have seen the process.
Number 9, El-Sadi Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi. When someone takes over as a dictator, they usually position their relatives into positions of power and influence. Well, that's exactly what Muammar Gaddafi did when he controlled Libya. One of his most interesting nepotism acts was installing his son, El-Sadi, as a footballer, even making him captain of the national team and president of the LFF.
One of the more bizarre things to happen during this time was that only his name could be mentioned by TV commentators. All the other players were mentioned by numbers only.
Gaddafi's influence also allowed El-Sadi to play in Italy. However, a failed doping test and his apparent lack of skills meant he wasn't successful. As such, he only made a couple of appearances over 4 years there.
According to one teammate, he was like a 13-year-old among us. He tried to give 100%, but physically, he just couldn't match us.
When sport dried up, El-Sadi was handed various governmental positions. After the fall of his father's reign, El-Sadi was eventually locked up in 2014.
The son of former Libya leader Muammar Gaddafi has apologized to the country's people for his past actions.
In 2021, he was released. Number 8, Henry Abrams, J.J. Abrams. Getting into comic books can be really hard, so you can imagine the outrage when someone skips the queue based on their name.
We have written a Spider-Man comic book. It's coming out in September.
In 2019, Marvel began promoting a 4 made from webbing. Fans immediately got excited that they were set to announce a 4th edition to Sam Raimi's trilogy. Instead, it was a countdown that led to the announcement that Henry and his filmmaking father, J.J. Abrams, would co-write a Spider-Man comic story called Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man in general has been one of the most interesting superhero characters to me. How when he gets stronger, his problems get bigger.
Fan enthusiasm deflated and largely morphed into frustration. There's speculation that JJ had little to do with it beyond lending his name, leaving most of the creative work to his son. To make it worse, the story wasn't well received by many Spidey fans.
The only good news is this comic isn't in continuity, so everything about it can be flushed down the memory hole like it never existed, right where it belongs.
Number 7, Olivia Jade Giannulli, Lori Loughlin, and Massimo Giannulli. As the daughter of actor Lori Loughlin and fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, Olivia Jade was able to use her fame to gain celebrity through social media.
We're at lunch right now. We're at the Polo Lounge. My hair looks crazy. Say hi.
But then in 2019, a far more serious form of nepotism came to light when the Varsity Blues scandal was announced.
Federal prosecutors call this the biggest case of college admissions fraud that they've ever handled.
Wealthy parents had bribed a service to get their offspring into college through fraudulent means. Olivia Jade and her sister were recipients of the service. Loughlin and Giannulli allegedly paid $500,000 to make their daughters seem like competitive rowers to the University of Southern California.
Well, the college admission scandal took another turn this week, with federal prosecutors releasing the photographs that Lori Loughlin and Massimo Giannulli allegedly took of their daughters on a rowing machine as part of a scam to get them into USC.
Loughlin was sentenced to 2 months in jail, and Giannulli got 5 months. To this day, it's hard not to associate Olivia with her Nepo background.
That's embarrassing within itself, that I walked around my whole 20 years of life not realizing, like, you have insane privilege. You're like the poster child of white privilege.
Number 6, Chet Hanks, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. In 2023, when Tom Hanks was asked about the nepotism in his lineage, he dismissed the term and described acting as the family business. This is mostly true since all of his children have performed on screen at some point. Some have been successful, like Colin. Chet, though, is another matter.
So how you know Sylvia? Oh, Sylvia used to care for Sebastian. Oh, serious? You know, Sylvia was my babysitter too.
His career has struggled due to various personal issues and controversies. On top of substance problems, there were abuse allegations from an ex in 2021. That same year, Chet mocked people who had the COVID-19 vaccine and dismissed the disease severity.
I suggest to all my followers, you guys set an appointment and get the vaccine first thing. Psych!
Also in 2021, he released the rap White Boy Summer, which was accused of being rather problematic.
Hot boy, white boy summer. Got your favorite Instagram bitch, DM in her number.
To make matters worse, the song was co-opted by extremist groups. Number 5, Joe Kennedy III, the Kennedy family. If you're a Kennedy in politics, one thing is guaranteed: winning elections in Massachusetts. Well, except if you're Joe, apparently.
Obviously, these results were not the ones we were hoping for.
The family has held some of the biggest governmental positions, including the presidency with John F. Kennedy. Joe seemingly followed a similar path to his great-uncle by becoming the U.S. representative for Massachusetts' 4th Congressional District from 2013 until 2021.
They're turning American life into a zero-sum game, where for one to win, another must lose.
Yet, in 2020, he ran for the Democratic nomination in the Massachusetts U.S. Senate election. Joe, who was criticized for not explaining why he ran, ended up losing to Ed Markey, becoming the first Kennedy to lose an election in the state. But his political career didn't end there. In 2022, Joe became the U.S. Special Envoy for Northern Ireland.
Sources telling CBS News Kennedy will tackle the economic parts of the role, avoiding the thorny politics related to the Irish border and Brexit.
Number 4, Hailey Bieber, the Baldwin family. The Baldwin family is one of the most influential groups in Hollywood. As a result, they produce several Nepo babies in various entertainment industries. One of them is Stephen Baldwin's daughter, Hailey.
Thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for continuously allowing me to come here.
She started working in the modeling industry and also married singer Justin Bieber in 2018.
I took my meds early. What do you mean?
You took them at 2. Yeah. You're supposed to take these at 3.
You know what I say to that?
In 2023, when social media was awash with criticism about Nepo babies, Hailey decided to walk outside with a t-shirt that had the term written on it. Luckily, a photographer happened to get a snap. However, the critique of the stunt was brutal. Some even stated Hailey wasn't famous enough to be considered a product of nepotism. Yikes.
Let's go through some tweets together. The funniest part is no one even mentioned her in the Nepo baby discussion. I need Lily Rose Depp to do this, she'd actually slay. It's giving nothing.
At the 96 Academy Awards, host Jimmy Kimmel even took shots at her for the nepotism label. Number 3, Max Landis, John Landis. As the son of controversial filmmaker John Landis, Max would follow his father in both capacities.
I'm not really a film school kid. I sort of am, but all the stuff I directed was just stuff I wanted to make for YouTube and stuff.
As a teenager, he sold his first script, an episode of Masters of Horror, which just happened to be co-written with and directed by John. Next was an episode in Fear Itself.
Your son.
While John didn't direct it, he did helm another episode of the show. Max's creation also never aired. From there, he continued writing, making a YouTube channel, and acting occasionally.
Sparseness, clarity, no cringe, out louds. Out louds are where you read your dialogue out loud and make sure you don't like that.
But in 2013, the wheels of his career began falling off after accusations of misogyny during an interview. Then in 2017, he was accused of assault. In 2019, 8 women came forward with stories about Max's abuse, causing his management team to drop him.
I'm not a sociopathic narcissist predator, but through my life, I understand why people hate me enough to say that.
Number 2, Jaden Smith, Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. In 2006, Jaden was cast as his father's character's son in The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, good papa.
However, this wasn't the first big dose of nepotism for being the child of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. All of Us, a show co-created and co-produced by the couple in 2003, saw Jaden appear in a recurring role.
Is this your mother's party or is this your father's party? Both.
I thought they're divorced. They are. Are you sure?
After some more acting in the Smiths' co-produced 2010 film Karate Kid, Jaden starred alongside his father in the 2013 sci-fi movie After Earth.
I'm reading Moby Dick.
Your mother told me. That's great.
It was critically panned, with fury notably directed at the nepotism. The reaction was so bad that both father and son won Golden Raspberry Awards. Over the years, Will has rebuked accusations that Jaden was cast in the pursuit of happiness due to nepotism.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp, and Vanessa Paradis. In 2022, Lily Rose drew the ire of the public by downplaying the advantages she received as a Nepo baby and implied the expression was sexist.
It's weird to me to reduce somebody to the idea that they're only there because it's a generational thing. It just doesn't make any sense. And then she says, I just hear it a lot more about women, and I don't think that it's a coincidence.
Of course, people pointed at her famous acting parents, Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis, and made an exasperated sigh. She had risen in the catwalk ranks due at least in part to her mother's connection to the fashion world. So others, namely model Victoria Charity, were livid. Depp also compared her life to those who become doctors like their parents, seemingly equating Nepo babies' experiences to the years of training medical professionals undergo.
Except getting your foot in the door is the whole game. Like, that's the most important part of the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Lily Rose has acted over the years, just like her mom and dad. In 2023, she walked back her comments, admitting that her childhood was different from most.
I've had a tough year. This world can be a cruel and unforgiving place.
Which Nepo baby beat the label and made a name for themselves? Let us know below.
It was a stuffed pig, and I had to be in a room with it. The trainers weren't allowed in the room for some reason.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.